Hello everyone and welcome back to the second worst channel on youtube.com. The first worst being my other one. I've been back at home for the festive season and it's just been so lovely, and I hope you all had a great and food-filled Christmas as well. So today I'm going to be sharing with you the books that I was very kindly given for Christmas this year. When my family asked me if there were any gifts I would like this Christmas, I basically said just books would be wonderful. Thank you. And holy hell, did they deliver. So obviously just wanted to start this video by saying a massive thank you to them. I'm so grateful, thank you. And now let's dive in. So this is quite possibly the most beautiful book cover of all time, because it's just incredible. This is a book that I've been lusting over for such a long time and I got it for Christmas. So it's Transcendent Kingdom by Gyasi, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I am 164 pages in so far and loving it. Her first book, Homegoing, was an instant hit with me. It's so ambitious in terms of the scale that this book covers, but it's basically about lots of different generations in this Ghanaian family, and the writing in there was just stunning. So of course I was desperate to read her second book. This is very different. Honestly, like, it's the range for me. And this is about a woman in STEM who growing up was incredibly religious. And she talks really interestingly both about religious faith and science. As a child, Gifty would ask her parents to tell the story of their journey from Ghana to Alabama, seeking escape in myths of heroism and romance. When her father and brother succumb to the hard reality of immigrant life in the American South, their family of four becomes two, and the life Gifty dreamed of slips away. Years later, desperate to understand the addiction that destroyed her brother's life, she turns to science for answers. But when her mother comes to stay, Gifty soon learns that the roots of their tangled traumas reach further than she ever thought. Tracing her family's story through continents and generations will take her deep into the dark heart of modern America. Transcendent Kingdom is a soaring novel about a family ravaged by forces both within and beyond their control. It is the story of love, loss, and inheritance, and the myriad ways we try to rebuild our lives from the rubble of our collective pasts. And it is just as good as it sounds. But I was like rationing it. I was like, you have to film this video before you finish this book. The one criticism I have is that there's this quote from Roxane Gay on the cover. Now, I love Roxane Gay. She's brilliant. She's such a great book reviewer, book critic. And this is not her fault, but the quote that they chose to use is absolutely transcendent. Well, the book is called Transcendent Kingdom. Like, could you not have used a different word? Like, I've read the review, the full review that she wrote, and she uses lots of other great words too. I just thought that was such a strange choice, and I had to share it. Like, if the book is called Transcendent Kingdom, why would you use your one review on the cover and use the word transcendent in it? It's like describing a sausage roll as sausagey. Do you know what I mean? I thought that was a strange choice on an otherwise faultless design. So that's number one. And before I get on to the rest of the pile, I just wanted to let you know that today's video is very kindly sponsored by Surfshark. As you know, I'm a Surfshark superfan, and Surfshark is basically a VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network. And what this means is that if you, like me, like to go and work in coffee shops, for example, and use public Wi-Fi, like you like to live your main character life out and about, Surfshark encrypts the data that you are putting onto the internet so that you don't get hacked, which is pretty ideal. We want to be more Jack Edwards, not Hack Edwards, if you know what I'm saying. And that's not all, because Surfshark is a jack of all trades. And Surfshark can also be used to virtually travel, meaning you can change the virtual location of your laptop or computer. So if you want to spend some time over this festive season watching a film or binge watching a TV show, but it's not available on, let's say, your country's Netflix, you can change your virtual location to a different country and then use their version of Netflix and basically unlock a whole new library of things to watch. So if that tickles your pickle, you can use my code JBooks, which gets you, wait for it, 83% off and 3 extra months free over on Surfshark. So click my link down below, it will be in the top line of the description, and get started with Surfshark. I use it every single day and would highly recommend, so thank you Surfshark for sponsoring this video. On to the next book. This one is called The Whole Picture, and this is non-fiction, which is something that I'm really trying to read more of in 2022. I want to make sure I read at least one piece of non-fiction each month about a topic that I don't know enough about, and this is the perfect starting point. So this is about the colonial story of the art in our museums and why we need to talk about it. And so it grapples with the question, should museums be made to give back their marbles? Is it even possible to decolonize our galleries? Must roads fall? Because this is a huge deal, and I think that our education system, especially, I mean, I'm speaking for myself here, but growing up, I knew nothing about Britain's colonial past, and it's something I've had to essentially teach myself about. We grow up going to all of these museums and galleries, not even realizing that more than half the stuff doesn't even belong to us. It has been stolen through the process of colonization, and this book unpacks that. How to deal with the colonial history of art in museums and monuments in the public realm is a thorny issue we are only just beginning to address. Alice Proctor, creator of Uncomfortable Art Tours, provides a manual for deconstructing everything you thought you knew about art history and tells the stories that have been left out of the canon. A valuable contribution to the urgent ongoing conversation around colonial history and cultural restitution. And it is urgent, and something I would definitely like to know more about, so the whole picture. Next is this book. Now, I'm going to talk about this more over on my main channel in my best books of 2021. So spoiler, I loved it, but I received this on Christmas Day, and by Boxing Day, I had devoured it. And the writing is the most stunning thing ever. It's called Open Water, and it is about two young people who meet at a pub in southeast London. Both are black British, both won scholarships to private schools where they struggle to belong, and both are now artists. They're trying to make their mark in a city that by turn celebrates and rejects them. Tentatively, tenderly, they fall in love. But two people who seem destined to be together can still be torn apart by fear and violence. This is so achingly tender and heartfelt and touching and lyrically written. It explores the black body in modern Britain and trauma and fear and love and belonging, and I just thought it was one of the best things I've ever read. And if I had a single shred of the ability that Caleb Azuma Nelson has, I could sleep easy, because holy moly, the talent that man has, insane. What an exciting up-and-coming writer. You're gonna hear me talk about this book a lot. But a book that I've heard spoken about a lot is this one. This is Shoko's Smile, and the queen of booktube, Unkali, recommended this very, very strongly, and so I would trust her with my life, so I had to have it. It's an award-winning collection which explores the joys and heartbreaks of human relationships as they blossom and wither. Largely following the nuanced relationships of women between friends, lovers, and family, the stories are a microscopic, almost obsessive study of the complex emotions at the heart of personal interactions. So I'm intrigued to read another short story collection, and this is a recommendation that came straight from BookTube. Best-selling story collection from South Korea's brightest literary star, so really looking forward to that. This next cover is just divine. Look at that, I love it. This is O. William, and it's described like this. Lucy Barton is a successful writer living in New York, navigating the second half of her life as a recent widow and parent to two adult daughters. A surprise encounter leads her to reconnect with William, her first husband, and long-time, on-again, off-again friend and confidant, recounting their colleges, the birth of their daughters, the painful dissolution of their marriage, and the lives they built with other people. Strout paints a portrait, stunning in its subtlety, of a decade-long partnership. I love these really personal explorations of domestic life, you know, things that you can sort of recognise as just real human emotions and experiences, and so I'm very excited to read this, and like I said, that is just one of the nicest book covers of the year, I think. Oh, next we have more non-fiction, and this is The Transgender Issue, an argument for justice by Sean Fay. Trans people in Britain today have become a culture war issue. Despite making up less than 1% of the country's population, they are the subjects of a toxic and increasingly polarised debate that generates reliable controversy for newspapers and talk shows. True that. This media frenzy conceals a simple fact, that we are having the wrong conversation, a conversation in which trans people themselves are reduced to a talking point and denied a meaningful voice. In this powerful new book, Sean Fay reclaims the idea of the transgender issue to uncover the reality of what it means to be trans in a transphobic society. In doing so, she provides a compelling, wide-ranging analysis of trans lives from youth to old age, exploring work, family, housing, healthcare, the prison system, and trans participation in the LGBTQ+ and feminist communities in contemporary Britain and beyond. This is exactly the kind of book that I've been looking for, because when you spend a lot of time on the internet, you unfortunately see some really dark corners of it, and transphobia is rife, and people get away with it regularly. And it's so frustrating to see the marginalization of the trans community. I think this book is going to put everything that I am trying to understand into perfect words, and also educate me on so much more, all the nuances, you know, of this movement. And so I think this is going to be a very important and formative book for my own understanding, and so I'm very grateful to have received it for Christmas. Next up, this one. This is The Promise, and I promise you, I'm buzzing my tits off to read this. This won the Man Booker Prize this year, and it had some big competition, so I am very intrigued. So The Promise charts the crash and burn of a white South African family living on a farm outside Pretoria. The younger generation, Anton and Amor, detest everything the family stand for, not least the failed promise to the black woman who has worked for them their whole lives. After years of service, Salome was promised her own house, her own land. Yet somehow, as each decade passes, that promise remains unfulfilled. The narrator's eye shifts and blinks, moving fluidly between characters. Interesting! And as the country moves from old deep divisions to its new so-called fairer society, the lost promise of more than just one family hovers behind the novel's title, The Promise. In this story of a diminished family, sharp and tender emotional truths hit home. Wow. I am very, very intrigued to read this. The Booker Prize has got to win me back after making the brilliant Bernardine Evaristo share it with The Testaments by Margaret Atwood, which I think was just a cash grab and not very good. So they've got some grafting to do, specifically just to me, and I don't think that they even would care who I am. But on a personal level, I am holding a grudge for them giving it to that book, so I'm very, very excited to read this, and I'm sure it will be a worthy winner. So that is The Promise. Now, we have seen some incredible covers in this video, and this is no exception. This is the Waterstones edition of Ariadne. It's by Jennifer Saint, and it is another Greek mythology retelling, which are so popular at the moment after the success of Song of Achilles. And Ariadne I always thought was such a fascinating story when I was studying mythology. So, the Minotaur, Ariadne's brother, demands blood every year. When Theseus, Prince of Athens, arrives in Crete as a sacrifice to the beast, Ariadne falls in love with him. But helping Theseus defeat the monster means betraying her family, and Ariadne knows that in a world ruled by mercurial gods, drawing their attention can cost you everything. Ariadne has heard too many tales of women being punished for the acts of men. She's determined to set her own fate. But will her decision to help Theseus ensure her happy ending? Or will she find herself sacrificed for her lover's ambition? So this is a feminist retelling, and I'm very, very... I keep saying excited, but that's the main emotion that I feel. I cannot wait to read this. And I love these deep dives into Greek mythology and reimagining the characters that are so brilliant. And not to judge a book by its cover, but holy hell, she's a 10 out of 10. Okay, let's do some paperbacks now. So this is Severance by Ling Ma, and this has been heavily recommended to me by people I trust a lot. I know that my friend Moya is a big fan of this book, and then also I recently met Ashley from Best Dressed here on YouTube, who is an icon of this website, and she was also very cool, and she highly recommended this book. She said it was her favourite ever, so of course I asked for it for Christmas. Not the influencers doing the influencing, but basically this, as far as I know, was written about a pandemic before the pandemic actually happened. So it basically is all speculative, but very interesting to read given everything that we now know post, well, what is currently happening. So it's about a plague of biblical proportions which sweeps the world. With a small group of survivors, she hopes to start society anew, but Candace is carrying a secret. Should she escape from her rescuers? A send-up and takedown of the rituals, routines, and missed opportunities of contemporary life, Severance is a moving family story, a sharp satire and a heartfelt tribute to the connections that drive us to do more than just survive. So, cannot wait for this. Next, we have Eve Babbitt's Black Swans. Now, Eve Babbitt's we unfortunately lost right at the end of 2021, which is such a tragedy and such a huge shame, but I can't wait to read this short story collection, which is about decades of dreams, drink, and glimpses of a changing world. Black Swans further celebrates the phenomenon of Eve Babbitt, cementing her reputation as the voice of a generation. So this is a must-read for me in 2022. Next, I got a physical copy of Daisy Jones and the Six because I originally listened to this as an audiobook. The audiobook is so incredible because it's narrated like a Netflix documentary, and it's all about a band who get together and break up and the ebbs and flows of their careers and the peaks and troughs. If you love music, you love bands, you love kind of celebrity culture, then you'll love this book. And Taylor Jenkins Reid is a frickin' genius. Ooh, this I'm very excited about. This was a gift from my grandmother who picked it out for me, and I'd never heard of it before, but it sounds brilliant and so up my street. So it's called The Garden of Evening Mists. It's about someone who was the gardener for the Emperor of Japan, who this 17-year-old basically enrolls to help her build a memorial for her beloved sister who was killed at the hands of the Japanese. She wants to learn everything that he can teach her and do her sister proud, but to do so she must also begin a journey into her own past, a past inextricably linked with the secrets of her troubled country. So it's about Malaya. Catch me reading this very, very soon. I'm honestly going to be so spoiled for choice because I want to read all of these instantly, but I also have loads of videos to film, so I'm going to be reading like crazy this year. But the next book is Breasts and Eggs, and it's about a poor suburb of Tokyo where we meet three women, and one of them is an aging hostess despairing over the loss of her good looks. She's travelled to the city in search of the breast enhancement surgery she thinks will change her life, and these three women slowly confront their individual anxieties as well as their relationships. So really excited to read this. I've been wanting to read this author for ages. She also wrote a book called Heaven, which is very much on my TBR for 2022, and I'm sure at some point in the next year you will find out what I think. Next up, we have a bit of a modern classic, and this is another recommendation from Unkali. Palm of her hand. I'm in the palm of her hand. It's about a young American in search of the absolute. And this progress for his spiritual odyssey involves him with some brilliant characters. His fiancée, whose choice between love and wealth has lifelong repercussions, and also her uncle, a classic expat snob. The author himself plays a part as he wanders in and out of the story, observing his characters struggling with their fates. So wow. I think Emma Chamberlain also recommended this book actually, and I just think she is like the creme de la creme of YouTube. She's the best to ever do it, right? And so if she recommends this book, best believe I will be reading it. So yeah, I was very, very excited to get that as a present. Next, we have The Vegetarian. The only description we have is a darkly beautiful modern classic about rebellion, eroticism, and the female body. One of the most extraordinary books you will ever read. So if that doesn't make you want to read it, I don't know what will. A novel of sexuality and madness that deserves its great success, and it won the Man Booker International Prize in 2016. I think this is meant to be a very psychological drama of a book, and I'm here for it. It's also very slim, which appeals to me because I think there's something so special about being able to write that concisely and compactly, and still making it super effective. So we shall see. This is Sorrow and Bliss. And I don't know much about this, so everyone tells Martha she is clever and beautiful, a brilliant writer who has been loved every day of her adult life by one man, her husband Patrick. This is a gift, her mother once said, that not everybody gets. So why is everything broken? Why is Martha, on the edge of 40, friendless, practically jobless, and so often sad? And why did Patrick decide to leave? Oh, Patrick, we were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. Maybe she is just too sensitive, someone who finds it harder to be alive than most people. Or maybe, as she has long believed, there is actually something wrong with her, something that broke when a little bomb went off in her brain at 17 and left her changed in a way that no doctor or therapist has ever been able to explain. Forced to return to her childhood home to live with her dysfunctional bohemian parents, but without the help of her devoted foul-mouthed sister Ingrid, Martha has one last chance to find out whether a life is ever too broken to fix, or whether maybe, by starting over, she will get to write a better ending for herself. Damn. Don't you wish you were the person who wrote blurbs? Because that was brilliant. And also, I've just seen, it's described on the cover as jaw-droppingly funny, which is a really good insight into the tone, because I love books that have really serious and meaningful topics and are this big, exploration of people's mental health and well-being, but they also have that comical edge. I like that, so I'm looking forward to that. Sorrow and Bliss. Perfect title as well, if it's kind of those two things. Interesting. Next, we have this mammoth. This is Great Circle, and it's a huge book, bigger than my head. And I think it's going to be big brain energy. This is another Booker Prize nominee. From the night she is rescued as a baby out of the flames of a sinking ship, to the day she joins a pair of daredevil pilots looping and diving over the rugged forests of her childhood, to the thrill of flying Spitfires during the war, the life of Marion has always been marked by a lust for freedom and danger. Wow, this feels like it's going to be a book of just epic proportions. In 1950, she embarks on her life's dream to fly a great circle around the globe. Interesting. Do you know, I've heard about this book a lot this year, but I had no idea what it was about, so that explains a lot. But after a crash landing, she finds herself stranded on the Antarctic ice without enough fuel. With a fearsome stretch of water separating her from her goal, she writes one last entry into her logbook. She is ready for her final journey. If that is the last entry to your logbook, holy moly, how fast do you write? Oh, wait. Half a century later, Hadley Baxter, a brilliant troubled Hollywood starlet, is irresistibly drawn to play Marion, a role that will lead her to probe the deepest mysteries of the vanished pilot's life. That was a good twist, even just in the blurb. Okay, Maggie Shipstead, you are going to be confronting my big book fear, and I'm ready for it. So that is Great Circle, and hopefully it will be as great as the title suggests. I've said this about everything, but I can't wait to read this one. This is Voya, and when you read this description, you'll understand what I mean. Leah, a young woman who has found herself ambitioned out of London, is now aimlessly adrift in Paris. That's a little too real. This book really said, Jack Edwards. This said, Jack, you need to read this. And then we diverge, obviously, away from me. Tired of working in cafes, her heart skips a beat when she spots an advert for a writer seeking an assistant. Michael was once the bright young star of the London literary scene, now a washed-up author with writer's block. He doesn't place much hope in the advert, but after meeting Leah is filled with an inspiration he hasn't felt in years. When Michael offers Leah the opportunity to join him and his family in the south of France for the summer, she finally feels her luck is turning. But as she begins to transcribe the diaries from his debauched life in 1960s Soho, something begins to nag at Leah's sense of fulfillment. There might be more to Michael than meets the eye. So, I desperately need to read this story about being disillusioned with London and then moving to Paris, because that was basically my 2021, and then becoming a writer's assistant, which is literally my job. So that is Voya by Francesca Rees, who apparently can see into my soul. Okay, 2 more books. This one is called Snow, and it's by John Banfill, and it's described like this. Detective Inspector of St John Stratford is called in from Dublin to investigate a murder at Ballyglass House. Facing obstruction from all angles, Stratford carries on in his pursuit of the murderer. However, as the snow continues to fall over this ever-expanding mystery, the people of Ballyglass are equally determined to keep their secrets. So, I'm intrigued to read another detective sort of novel. It's something I don't read loads and loads of, so I think this will be good for me in 2022 to mix it up a little bit. And then finally, The Little Paris Bookshop, which, having read 0 pages of, I already love. So it's about a bookshop which is on a barge on the Seine, and a bookseller who possesses a rare gift for sensing which books will soothe the troubled souls of his customers. The only person he is unable to cure, it seems, is himself. But when an enigmatic new neighbour moves into his eccentric apartment building, Jean is inspired to unlock his heart, unmoor the floating bookshop, and set off for Provence in search of the past and his beloved. Ooh. I love books about booksellers and bookshops and book lovers, because they're always such an ode to the joy of reading and literature. And I imagine this is also an ode, in a way, to the city of Paris, which is where I am trying to live at the moment. I'm not allowed back into the country because of the old Rona, so maybe this will be the thing to keep me going while I'm not there and I'm missing it. So that is my Christmas book haul. Thank you so much for watching this video. Once again, I feel like the luckiest person in the whole world, so thank you to my family for buying these books for me. Make sure you're following me on the Storygraph, on Goodreads, on Instagram to see when I read these books in real time, and then also on this channel and my main channel where I will be reviewing them. Thank you so much to Surfshark for sponsoring the video. As I said, link is down below. Thank you for watching this video and for all of the crazy support in 2021. It means the world. So thank you very much. Have a great day. All the best. Stay in touch. Bye-bye.